Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special video answering one of the more common questions I get on my stream. Should I try this game? So, obviously, I came from Hearthstone, so I still do have a lot of people that mainly play that game, but they do see me streaming this game, having a good time. And they want to know, should I try this game? Is this game fun? Etc. And as with me, the answer is always more convoluted, probably than it needs to be. But I wanted to kind of break it down in a interesting, exciting way. I have in front of you guys what I deem the fun curve. So this is just going to be going over the breakpoints of collection level and how I would say your fund will translate on a graph with the collection level and what things that could happen in your game, etc., etc. So while we do have this graph, it's not very clear and like exactly what I'm pinpointing here. So I do have this PowerPoint here to kind of clarify it, and then we'll go back to the graph and jot things out. So collection level 0, that's when you start the game. I would say the game starts off pretty fun. Not amazingly fun because you do have the tutorial you have to work with. A little hack for you if you're playing on PC, you can actually just press escape and like skip the battle itself. I didn't know that the first couple of times, but I've tried that tutorial a couple of times now. And just hitting escape if you're playing on PC is actually just skips the whole tutorial. Well, not the whole. You have to keep pressing escape for each battle, but it skips a lot of it. So that's definitely a quick tip. If you are trying the game, I would say definitely do it on PC so that you can skip the tutorial, then play on mobile or whatever. So that'd be my little tip there. But it does start off pretty fun. They give you a lot of cards, and you're just learning the game, so you don't really know. You're not really bothered by any of the new mechanics or anything like that, and it paces itself well. So I would say the beginning is pretty fun. If you don't like tutorials like me, then it's a little bit not like amazing, but it is a decent one. Next up, we have collection level 18. So we're still just getting started, but this is really where you start in pool 1. I would say this is where you really start learning the game. You really start having some options in the card variety that you deal with. So this is a pretty good pace. The early stages of the game are extremely fun, extremely rewarding. You're getting tons of cards very quickly. Things are going great. You're learning new mechanics. You're learning to interact with new cards. You're learning the locations. This is definitely a great period of the game. Just the beginning and learning and absorbing all those new fun mechanics. Next up, we have collection level 166. Now, this isn't a particular breakpoint. This isn't like the difference between pool 1 or pool 2, but this is where you start to, at least for me, right? I started to notice that they're kind of lessening the card acquisition rate, where normally you'll get cards every other reward, but now they've put an extra gap here. So at least for me, for me that bothered me. My fun dropped a little bit, but I would say not enough to matter. You're still fairly new to the game. You don't really know what's reasonable, and you're really getting cards that are like an accelerated, extremely rapid pace. That I would say for most players, it's not too much of a problem, but it's the start of things to come, and just something I wanted to notice. Like, oh, you might notice, oh, I used to get cards every other reward. Now it's every there's 2 rewards in between a card. That's a little bit different than the standard. It doesn't continue. So I wanted to put that breakpoint in, just something you might be noticing in your games. Next up, we have collection 222. So this is the official start of pool 2 or series 2 cards. So now you can start getting a much bigger variety of cards you can really start dealing with. You might see some opponents, or at this point, a lot of times you're still fighting bots, but you might see at some point some human players, and they might be playing cards you might not be expecting, things like that. It's still a really fun part of the game. Pool 2, but there's going to be a slight dip as once you hit pool 2. Now you can fight pool 2 players. They're going to be a little bit better. They're going to have cards you might not have yet. But overall, it's still pretty fun. You're still learning a lot, so your fun recovers pretty quickly and stays there for quite a bit. So overall, so far, it's just been not too many issues. A lot of a lot of fun things in the game. Next up, we have 293. So this is a little breakpoint as well, where once again you're getting a delayed rate of card acquisition. So you might not, this might not bother you too much. It might not be really a problem, but for some players, right, just knowing that they're slowing you down a little bit might uh feel a little bit cheated or something. So I just want to mention that, like, for some players this might be a small dip where you're like, ooh, I used to get cards quicker, but now it's a little bit slower. So just something to note there. There might be a little dip for that. Next up, we do have 486. So now this is the official start of Pool 3. So once again, there's going to be a lot of new cards to deal with, right? Or your opponents are now going to have access to Pool 3 cards. There are a lot of them. There's over 70, probably 80 by the time you watch this video. Pool 3 cards that other people could have that you won't have. So there's going to be a pretty big dip in fun, because now you're going to start losing to cards that you've never seen before, right? Almost every game now, you're going to say, oh, I've never seen this card before. You've never seen this card before. You've never seen this card before. So that can get pretty annoying for a while as you are relearning the game, basically, because all these new cards really change how the game is played out. So you basically have to relearn the game from this point on. And there's so many more options that you have to think about, play around. So it's definitely a learning curve. So the initial part's going to be not as fun, but hopefully you stay with it. You start learning these new cards, and it should recover. Next up, we have 594. So there is like a big, I would say, issue with the matchmaking system. Essentially, once you hit 600, but 594 is where the card will be, and that's where I would recommend you to stop. Once you hit 600, your matchmaking opens up. Now you can fight basically anyone on any collection, mostly based on your rank. So it becomes a lot harder of a matchmaking system for the new players once they pass this collection level. So there's definitely going to be a big dip as soon as you pass this. So I do have a video explaining exactly what you want to be doing before 600. So if you are under 600, you are wanting to learn the game, definitely watch that video to get the full breakdown. But basically, I want you to linger on 594 or so for about 2 weeks as you max your credits. And then once you hit max credits, then from 594 or so, or under 600, you go as far into the collection track as possible. Now, we do that because we want to mitigate that the amount of time you're spending right after 600, right when you're fighting these very strong opponents with huge collections that you don't have access to, cards you can't even get. So that's the reason why we want to stay under 600 for around 2 weeks, get max credits. It might be longer if they change the credit limit, but the credit limit right now is 10,000. So if that changes in the future, then you want to max the credit. So it might take longer than 2 weeks, but essentially you just want to stay there and then eventually go as far into the collection track as possible. So you want to jump exactly from like 594 all the way to like 900, 1,000, that kind of thing. That's going to give you a lot more cards, a lot more things to work with. So in terms of the fun curve, this is going to be a very excruciating part of the game. This is the worst part of the game right after passing 600, where people just have cards you can't deal with and you don't have any answers, any way to deal with it. So this is the worst part of the game. So just be aware of that. I'm trying to help you mitigate it as much as possible, but essentially this is, if you want to try the game, this is the one thing you have to be aware of. So that you don't fall into the pitfall of just casually passing through 600, and then you just get starting to lose every match because your opponents have too many good cards and you don't have the access to those. So something to keep in mind. All right, next up we have collection level 1,000. So this is basically after, this is where you want to be hitting after you jump from 600. You should have a lot of cards, and I would say your fun curve now can split. So this is where your game state might be different from another player because it's going to really determine on what cards did you get while you were hitting this point. Uh, did you get a good playable build-around card, or did you get a lot of poor, not viable, very rarely used cards? So this is where your experience might really split. Where if you get a really good card, leader, arrow, destroyer, blah blah blah, cards you can build around, whew, things are not as bad for you. But if you don't get that experience, your experience is going to be really poor, really sucky. I'm gonna no way to explain. It's gonna suck. So hopefully you hit the 6 on the dice or the 20 on the dice, and hit that critical, got the really powerful cards that you can build around. But there's also another factor for this collection level. This is where you start getting collector's reserves. So right now, before this, you were getting either cards directly or collector's caches. Now the reserves are going to take you a lot longer to get new cards because they're more spread out, and the chance you get new cards is drastically lower. So this is where people can really start complaining, where they didn't hit any good build around cards, and now they're slowly getting new cards. This can be the first, well, not the first, but this can be one of the major hurdles to continuing the game if you're just not having fun at this point, where you wanted to hit a good card, but you did it, and your opponents have a lot of good things you don't have access to, and you're just losing all your matches. It's just demoralizing. So this can be one of the the very negative pain points in the game. So just be aware of that. It does get better, good news, but who cares if it gets better while you're in it, right? So I would definitely say that you have to be careful about this window and this experience. If you're not aware, if you don't know this could happen to you, then the game might feel really bad. All right, next up, we have this if statement, I guess, or this chance of something amazing happening to you. And that's really hitting a series 4 or 5 card that's really, really strong, really, really powerful, that you can completely build around and absolutely fix any of the collection problems that you have. So this is my account, this is my experience. I hit Darkhawk, which is a series 5 card that's really strong in the meta right now at 1,500 essentially collection level. So as soon as I hit this, I was able to build a deck around it, and combined with the season pass card that was added, Zabu, just had a tier S deck that I could use. So I really didn't have to worry about my collection, my progression really at all this season completely, because I already had a really good card, a really good deck that I could main and just run through. So the problem with this is that you on average get one series 5 card every 5,000 levels. So yeah, it's not common. So anywhere between 1,000 and 6,000 on average, you're getting one series 5 card. So you can get it very early, or you could get it very late, or you could not get it at all, because there's no pity system for series 5 cards. So if you're super lucky, you can get more than one, but I'm not going to expect a lot of the players watching this or this to already have more than one series 5 card. That's very unlikely. So you do have to hit a builder, like a strong series 5 card, but there are a lot of good ones that you can hit, and some are moving down. So in the future, this might be less of a problem, because maybe some of the really strong cards are already in series 4 or 3, so they're a lot easier to get. But for now, I would say if you hit this, then you're doing swell. If you're not, then you're just like everyone else, right? It's not like you have to hit any of this, but I would say this is just something that could happen to you that makes the game extremely fun. I also will just put in here that if you are a new player and you have collection tokens and you want to figure out what to spend it on, I'm going to make a video on it, so you might just watch the dedicated video. But for now, quick answer is only spend your tokens on series 3 cards, pool 3 cards, because you want to finish that as quick as possible. and the Series 4 and the Series 5 cards are usually too pricey. They take you too long to even get one. All right, moving on, we do have Collection 2000. So at this point, this is really where I think most players will have a lot of access to a lot of cards. So even if you don't have every single pool 3, you're gonna have a lot of options to choose from. So your games are gonna be more interesting, more playable. You're not gonna feel like you auto lose every game. So this is where I would really say you really have a lot of freedom here. Not the most freedom, but you're starting to feel like, oh, I have a lot of options in the game. I can build this deck or that deck or this deck. So this is where I really think you start to feel that. So there's a lot of fun in that. There's a lot of fun, playing different decks and things like that. Obviously, you don't have all of them, and you might also be unlucky and not have any of the really core cards that you want to play with. But due to the collector token system, you should have some cards that you want to play with because you're able to pick exactly the pool 3 card that you want. So it should be a pretty good experience, right? Once you've gotten the tokens or the cards that you want to play with, and then you can continue from there. Next up, we have 2800 to 3300. So this is really the point where you've completed all Series 3 cards, pool 3 cards. There's a range here because they might be adding more Series 3 as time goes on, and depending on when you watch this, it might be later on in the collection track, as well as if you don't buy Series 3 cards, if you were to be those players that saved up for a Series 4 or 5 card, it's going to take you significantly longer on the collection track to complete all the Series 3 cards. So I do have the range there. So, but around this time, this is when you complete all of the Series 3 cards, and now things open up. You have a lot of options, and things are looking good in terms of like the type of decks you can make. You can move from one deck to another basically daily. And as they keep downgrading cards, you'll have even more options. So I would say this is a really good period once you've completed all the Series 3 cards, and your collector's token acquisition rate also increases dramatically once you complete all the Series 3 cards. So now you're starting to get a lot of tokens. It's going to feel good. You're like, oh, I can start picking up cards that I want. So it lets you go into the next stage, which is around 3,500 collection level, where this is the point where you can start buying pool 4, pool 5 cards. You on average will be able to get a pool 5 card every month or 2 pool 4 cards every month. So you get to choose exactly which pool 5 card you want per month, and then you can just play with that, for the month, as well as like picking rolling cards in the collection track. That still doesn't really change. So here's where you get a lot of freedom, a lot of time to build exactly a type of deck that you want to play with that month, and just work towards it. So I'd say that's pretty good experience. A lot of fun in that. And I would say at this point, if you can get through that trench in the middle, then you're gonna have a lot of fun with this game. And then the next one, the last one, I would say at this point, this is around 4,000 collection level. You're pretty much stuck with this game. You're pretty whipped. You like the game. You're still in it. You didn't leave. And I would say at this point, why are you listening to this? Like this is a suggestion for whether you should play the game, and you're already at 4,000 collection level. You're playing this game. Why are you here? That would be my statement at that point. Like, I don't understand. But maybe you just want to watch the video, you want to support the channel, like and subscribe, that kind of thing. And I appreciate that. But generally at this point, like, the game, you know more about this than I do, basically, right? I'm not even at this stage of the game, so I still have some room to grow. But essentially at this point, you have a lot of freedom. You have a lot of cards. You can really make the decks you want. You can really do whatever. So at this point, how the game flows is really up to you. It's your own destiny. Make the game how you will. That's kind of the breakdown of it. But now let's jot it on the curve. Let's jot it on the fun graph and see what it looks like in my eyes. So that's a pretty good transition into this, I believe. So here we do have the curve, the graph, once again, kind of breaking down where we start. So I would say at the beginning, right, at 0, what does it start? It's not super fun at the beginning, right? You still have to do the tutorial. and there's a little bit of growing pains as you're going, but you are still learning a little bit. So there's a little bit niceties in that in learning. Then here I would say, um, as you're starting into the 18s, right? You're still getting new cards. You're still learning. It's not too bad. Things aren't bad. You're learning the game. You're having fun. Like, this is the beginning part of the game is really fun. I'm gonna say so. There's nothing wrong here. You're just having a ton of fun, ton of fun, ton of fun. Then 166, you might notice the your card acquisition rate slow down a little bit, right? So at this point, I would say like things dip a little bit, but you're pretty new to the game. You're still acquiring cards, so it's not a huge dip. It's just a small dip, and you usually just recover as you keep learning, keep growing, keep getting new cards. Things are fine, so you're having a lot of fun. And then here, 2020, not 2020, but 222 collection level. That's when you start pool two, and that's when you'll start seeing cards you haven't played before, and you start losing to cards you've never seen before. That's not fun. So things are going to be a little bit bad here. You're going to start dipping a little bit, but it's not too bad, right? Over time, you'll start recovering and start learning the game again. It's not too bad. So here you go. You keep going, and you're relearning the game, having fun, and it's not too bad. You're like, oh, I really understand the meta game right now. 296, same deal with the 166. You see your card acquisition rate slow down a little bit once again, and you might not like that too much. So you'll go down, but you're kind of used to it. You're getting trained by the system here, and you're like, well, that's fine. I still get some cards. It's not too bad. And you're relearning. You recover too much. It's all too fine. And then bam, this once again. You hit pull three, right? This is 486. You hit pull three, and now you start losing the cards you've never seen before. That's pretty sad, pretty bad, right? So it's a pretty big drop. Losing the cards you've not seen, that's not fun. But over time, right, you start understanding the new things, and you start learning again. It's not too bad. It's not too bad, and you start learning. Now here at this point, you're 594. This is where I tell you, hey, you gotta stay on 594, so you don't get too punished. So here you're gonna linger around here, just linger around here, really understand the game. So you're just lingering, and eventually, boom, you pass through the barrier, right? But here's the problem, right? No matter how this is where the universe splits for you, right? There's two different directions. Either you hit a really strong card, a really build around card, something like leader, or you don't hit any really strong cards, and things suck for you. So I would say there's two universes for you. There's the universe where you hit leader, and even though you hit good cards and maybe build around cards, people have better cards than you. So it's always gonna be bad. It's always like it's never gonna be like, oh, I'm fine. It's always gonna be bad here. But at least with some build around cards, some strong cards, you can still do something. The problem is if you don't hit anything. If your deck is nothing but if your hits are nothing but crystal, well, let me tell you, it's maybe the worst experience in the game. So this is where things can be, at this point. So you really do have to hope that things are fine for you, that you get some good cards: Destroyer, Leader, Arrow, Electro, Lockjaw, things like that, Patriot. That's where the universe can split, and we do have a pool. We do have a page two as well, to really capture it. So there we are. There's kind of where we're stuck at. We are one person's here, one person's around here, right, in the universe. Now here we have this chance, right? This if statement. If you get a card like Darkhawk, a card like Shuri, Thanos, Galactus, you're pretty much here. You're pretty much you've pretty much solved it. You're gonna be here for a while. So that's the lucky chance. However, if you don't hit that, now you're back here. So the nice thing though is that these two these two experiences kind of converge. Once you hit, around 6,000, you'll usually start having the same amount of cards. So you do recover. It's not lost for you. There is a point where the Fusion Hawk appears, and you do get back on track. So I would say you just have to get through this slog, this big slog here. But here you've gotten a lot of tools. You can start working with things, and here I would say, as you're completing the collection, I would say your experience is like pretty up and down. It's pretty random. I can't really tell you if you're gonna love this part or not, because you might have tons of good cards, or you might be missing that core card that you want. So, one day you might get in like, oh, I'm super happy, or another day you might be like, man, I've been looking for this one card for months. Well, not months, but like, for weeks, and I really can't get it. So I would say your experience is wildly varies. Can be from day to day, but it's hard to tell. But eventually you complete all of the pool 3 cards, and I would say things are okay at that point, right? Once you've completed all pool 3 cards, now you have a lot of options. Things are flexible. You have that, jump of serotonin just from getting everything complete there. And I would say like the game is pretty good. You've gotten through the slog of the game, and then you're just kind of casually strolling, little up and downs into the picking the pool 3, or the pool 4, the pool 5 cards that you want. Right now, you get some freedom. You can play with a specific card that you want to play with because you have this large amount of tokens that you're acquiring per month. So things are looking good. And then basically at this final stretch, the whip stage, now it depends. Are you playing the game because you enjoy it? You're here, right? Are you playing the game just because like it's the best game, but you don't know if you love it? So you could be here. Are you just like going through the motions? I'm just playing this game because I just love gotchas, and I want to get all the cards, but I don't love the game anymore. It's really up to you at this point, to decide your future, and how you feel about the game, how you like the game. This part is up to you, right? If you're here, I would say you understand this game on a fundamental level, that you know how fun the game is to you, and you have to make your own decision on whether you want to continue or not. But I would say that's pretty much what I would call the fun curve. Just kind of going through, how the game is for you, right? So if we go back and see, it starts off fun, and it stays pretty fun, but there are small dips as you go into different pools, and people start playing cards you don't know, but you start recognizing and learning the cards. So it recovers pretty quickly, and then there's the second pool, and then there's this period where you stay around, right under 600, so you're lingering here. Then you try to jump past, straight to 1,000, and depending on the cards you get, you might have a decent experience, or you might have a very poor experience. And then here, things start to equalize back in as you get to 2,000, and then as you're trying to complete your full collection, your experience can vary widely, whether you got the cards you wanted, or you're missing a card that you really want to play with. And then things can change day by day as you're getting new cards on the day. And then eventually you'll complete the full pool 3 collection. That's going to be really fun, really good. And then you have the casual grind of getting the collection tokens, which you get a lot as you grow your collection after you complete all the series 3 cards. So it's not too bad. You have a lot of options. And then then you're at the whip stage, and you really have to figure out, are you still liking this game? Are you still enjoying it? Are you just playing it because you can and you're used to it over the year? So that's the explanation, the fun curve. I hope you enjoyed my horrible drawings, but I think this is a very accurate description of your experience in this game. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked this video. Yeah, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful day. I should definitely full screen myself, by the way. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful day. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Bye bye, everyone.